thanks to all of you for joining me tonight. We're going to talk about just about my favorite topic. We're going to talk about this wonderful College of Skidmore and what you could expect from Skidmore College. I know we've got a very diverse audience tonight. We've got early decision accepts, we've got current applicants, we've got deferrals, we've got parents, we've got interested students, students of the future. We're talking already about the class of 2029. One of the wonderful things about higher ed is you get to think about the future, and that's always a very exciting thing to do. And all of you out there are in a time of discernment, thinking about what is the right landing place for you, the right pathway for you when you think about your college education. And that's a little scary, it's challenging, but it's also wonderful, it's exciting. And I'm really pleased and indeed honored to play a small part in that. And I recognize, I mean, there's been some tough times. Your middle school years were enmeshed in the COVID pandemic. This is a time of global struggle, tense times politically. We could go on with the challenges of our day. And I would always affirm, don't be discouraged. As I said in one of our commencement addresses 2 years ago, quoting the great spiritual, be not afraid. This is a time to be filled with hope, despite the challenges that we face. So as Jess said, I'm halfway through my 5th year as president of Skidmore College. I arrived perfect timing with the global pandemic. We got through that time extremely well at Skidmore. My wife Barb and I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Little shout out to my mom in Tacoma, who's watching tonight. Always good to have you in the audience, Mom. We have 3 sons, the youngest of whom graduated from college last year. So his 4 years of college were right during the COVID experience. Family is of great importance to me. Region is of great importance to me. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. We go back there every year to visit our families. Spent 24 years in Southwest Virginia and got to know the very complicated, beautiful region of the South. And then we came to upstate New York, and I was a typical non-New Yorker. I knew there was Manhattan and something sort of vaguely to the northwest of Manhattan, and I've just been so delighted to learn about the breadth and the diversity and the history and the beauty of the capital region and of this magnificent New York State. My work, I've been an English professor, continued to publish and to teach, got into administrative leadership over the last decade, became chief academic officer at my previous school, and then came here to be president. And I always like to start with my own experience because I want to answer that question, why Skidmore for me, as you think about why Skidmore might be the right fit for you. And I have always been committed to the liberal arts college model, the liberating arts, those arts of science and humanities and the arts that liberate the mind and teach us to think critically and creatively. I wanted to be at a school where creativity in particular was emphasized. And I think when it comes to creativity, that's the lifeblood of Skidmore College. And I was drawn to a school that had a thriving program of management and business, entrepreneurship, the professions. I'm a great believer in all the ideals of a liberal arts education, and I will talk unabashedly about the return on investment of that education, about how well it prepares our students to enter into the global marketplace. And again, that motto of Skidmore, creative thought matters. When I read that motto, I thought, this is the place where I want to be. Is there a more important credo that a college could have in this very challenging time? And then drawn to the communities here, the Skidmore community, the Saratoga Springs community, surely the greatest college town in all of America, the Adirondack region, the Capital region, again, its history, its diversity, and its opportunity. And what have I found at Skidmore? Well, one way I have found our students is through my own teaching. I've continued to teach about one class a year. I taught a Shakespeare class 2 years ago. Last year, I took students for a 2-week travel seminar to the west of Ireland, something I'd done many times earlier in my career, to study the literature and history of Ireland on site. And that was a magnificent experience. And when people ask me, what are Skidmore students like? How would you sum up Skidmore students? The first thing I say is there are as many types of Skidmore students as there are Skidmore students. Our students are unique. But the common denominator I have come to find of Skidmore students is kindness. There's a kindness to this community that I have not seen at any other school that I've been a part of. And then, of course, creativity. That's at the heart of Skidmore. Resilience. I certainly saw that on display during our time with COVID. Diversity and a desire to change the world for the better. And that's the essence of our mission. We can talk about all the things that we try to do with our educational approach, but educating brilliant young people to go out and change the world for the better is really what it all comes down to. The faculty at Skidmore are without peer. The academic experience is complex and challenging and supportive. Our athletic commitment is powerful, and it's a place of opportunity. Whether we're talking about the Fryrick Entrepreneurship Competition or the Outing Club or study abroad or research with faculty, internships, on and on, it's all about providing opportunities for students to have these transformative experiences and again, being ready to launch and go out into the world. So that's me. That's what brought me to this place. That's what I've found in my nearly 5 years at this wonderful place. What can you expect if you were to come to Skidmore? Well, the first thing I would say is you can expect to challenge Skidmore and be challenged by Skidmore. And I take that challenge very seriously. One thing I like to say is, often we hear people say, well, I want to feel safe. Well, safety does not mean comfort. Safety does not mean only hearing from those with whom you agree. That's actually the opposite of a liberal arts education. We live in a time of extraordinary polarization, a Manichaean world of us versus them. A liberal arts education encourages us, compels us to understand the views of others, to be challenged by those views, and to engage those other views with respect, with civility, even with humor, and with a sense that we are in this effort together. One of the signature priorities of my presidency has been freedom of speech and expression. We're in our 3rd year of this as a major priority. We did a national symposium 2 years ago called Speech and Expression on College Campuses. This has been a major imperative for us, trying to help people be courageous enough to speak their mind and to be open to the speech of others, understanding that being in disagreement with people, that does not weaken me, that strengthens me. And I learn from these encounters with other views. We encourage our community to have the courage to make mistakes, to say things that we then want to revise. That's part of the learning process. And we take care of each other. We are much less inclined to judgment and much more inclined to support and cooperation. You can expect that kind of attitude, rigorous academics, and lifelong friendships that you'll forge at Skidmore. Now, one of the things you'll hear at all the colleges you talk to is, come here and you'll find yourself in these 4 years. You'll find your identity, and that's true. It happens to every student. You do find yourself in these 4 years of the college experience. But I also tell our students, you will also forge your identity. You'll find it and you will forge it. And I urge you to think about that. Finding oneself can be a passive experience. It happens to you. Forging yourself is an active experience. You make the choices that shape your identity and determine who you are. And that responsibility and autonomy for self-making is a key part of what we emphasize at Skidmore. Now, let me talk a bit about our beautiful campus. And I'm going to take 2 buildings as examples. One of the things I like to say about Skidmore is we don't just build buildings on our campus. We build concepts. We take concepts of teaching and learning and we give them material form in our building. So I want to start with our Billy Tisch Center for Integrated Sciences. This was a 10-year project that we fully completed this past year. An integrated science center, 200,000 square feet of cutting-edge scientific space, 46 research labs, 16 classrooms, 22 teaching labs, all 10 of our science departments, almost 100 faculty and staff. At the heart of it is the Idea Lab, a maker space and a center for innovative, interdisciplinary exploration. Again, more than a concept. This is a place of science as integrated exploration, one of the best science facilities in the Northeast. And the other example I want to give is the Zenkel Music Center. This is a building, it houses our music department, Carnegie Hall level acoustics, performance and master classes. I'll never forget from my inauguration, Branford Marsalis came and gave a master class and an incredible jazz concert. It is a concept of conservatory level music education for all majors, for all students. There's many other examples I could give. The Tang Teaching Museum, a concept of creativity and using material culture, using art to teach every subject, like history, like accounting, like finance, like sculpture, all being taught in the Tang space. Because space is not just an empty thing. Space connotes values. Our spaces tell people, what are your priorities? What are the things that are most important to you? Where do you put your resources? So it's very appropriate I talk to you today, Tuesday, the 21st of January, because today, our newest such endeavor, the McCaffrey-Wagman Tennis and Wellness Center, officially opened. When I came to Skidmore, we were in the midst of the pandemic, but even outside of COVID, health and wellness was clearly the most paramount priority on college campuses. And so we committed ourselves to what became a $45 million state-of-the-art health and wellness facility. The McCaffrey-Wagman Center houses our health center, our counseling center, peer health, health education, but also a 10,000 square foot fitness center, spaces for spin classes, martial arts, Zen meditation, Tai Chi. This is a place of a holistic approach to health, mind, body, spirit, because students need different things during the arc of their four-year career, and health and wellness take so many different forms. And we wanted to prioritize health and wellness with this new facility. It's also one of our premier athletic facilities. 8 outdoor tennis courts, 4 indoor tennis courts, NC2A caliber competitive tennis facility, varsity locker rooms. This is of a piece with a number of commitments to our athletic facilities in recent years. Renovating our softball field, a $1.5 million hockey training facility, and now we're in the midst of a brand new baseball field that'll be completed this summer. It'll be one of the top baseball facilities in the Northeast. I'm a big believer in the Division III student-athlete model. It teaches people competition. It teaches people how to win and, more importantly, how to lose. It teaches people teammates, the importance of team, and what it means to commit yourself to something larger than yourself. And we see examples of this throughout the Skidmore experience, not just in athletics, but in theater, in music, in the science research teams, one example after another. A big part of our culture is our commitment to justice, to inclusion, to community, and to belonging. On my first day in office, July 1st of 2020, I announced our Racial Justice Initiative. And such initiatives towards diversity and inclusivity are at the heart of our work and at the heart of our community. We describe ourselves as a community of care. And you've already heard me emphasize the kindness and the care of the Skidmore community. This is deeply embedded in our culture. This is how we grappled last year with the crisis of the Middle East and the Israel-Gaza conflict. That rocked college campuses in ways we have not seen since the late 1960s. An enormously complicated conflagration with extremely passionately held views across the spectrum. We leaned into that crisis. We talked about it. We brought all the different sides to the table. We had forums, we had speakers, we had debates. Our faculty created pop-up classes on the Israel-Gaza, Israel-Palestine, Middle East situation, teaching a week later classes that they had just created a week before. We turned our campus into a symposium on the Middle East issues. In March of last year, our Students for Palestine and our Hillel student leadership came together at the same table to talk about how do we talk about these mortal struggles. We had a lot of expression on our campus. We did not have disruption. We engaged these passionate issues clearly, intently, passionately, and with a commitment to civility and to understanding. That's how a community of care approaches such challenges. We were very clear about our denunciation of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, and we brought our communities together in dialogue. I am enormously proud of our Skidmore students and the ways they conducted themselves last year and this year as well. That kind of experience, that kind of training, that kind of commitment, that's what a liberal arts education is about, and it is so necessary in today's world. We talk a lot at Skidmore about civic leadership, about democratic action, about our commitment to democratic citizenship, our commitment to the principles of this nation, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, principles that always call America to be as great as America promises to be. Do we fall short of those ideals? Of course we do. We are merely fallible human creatures, but aspiring to those principles is a key part of the education that we provide. And again, making this world a better place, calling us to be what we want to be. Now, I mentioned before, I could go on at length about the ideals of a liberal arts education. I was an English and philosophy major myself, pursued multiple other majors, the training of the mind, a life filled with reflection and lifelong learning. Those are some of the key benefits of a liberal arts education. And I will also make the case that it is the best investment in a career-oriented, job-oriented education. We know how well our students do on the job market. I say to our students, you do not have to worry about the jobs. You're going to graduate from one of the premier colleges in the world. The jobs will come to you. And when they come to you, you'll be able to articulate your experiences, your values, your learning. You will demonstrate somebody who has the skills to work in teams, to take a project from beginning to end, to think creatively, to be able to pivot and adapt, because the world has never been more in need of adaptability with the swiftness of technological change. These are the things that we teach our students to do. One of my favorite quotes is from the American philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Character is higher than intellect. The good person will be fit to live as well as to think." Fit to live as well as to think. We train you to think, but even more importantly, we help you learn how to live, how to go out and have a fulfilling life of success. We are remarkably good at future opportunities. Our Career Development Center, our alumni networks, our mentoring, our research opportunities, our MB 107 class, Harvard MBA level case study educational model for business that is taken mainly by first-year students at Skidmore College. A remarkable experience that we have. Startup Skidmore, the entrepreneurship competition. I could go on with these great opportunities. And we embrace new technologies. This year, I'm chairing the President's Working Group on Artificial Intelligence. Last year, we looked at AI and how it impacts the classroom, so we could give guidance to our students and our faculty in how to grapple with this new technology. This working group is looking institution-wide. How is artificial intelligence impacting the whole enterprise of Skidmore College? How do we invest ourselves in this new technology? Because as I said at the start of my remarks, we embrace the future at Skidmore. We must be confident, not timid, about the future, respectful of the world's challenges, and they are many and they are daunting, but never intimidated by them. The 21st century is filled with possibility. And that sense of possibility is what we embrace at Skidmore. Ultimately, I think there are three things a great college experience should be. Three things. It should give you a world-class transformative education, first and foremost. It should give you 4 years of unforgettable experiences, friendships, adventures, travel, immersive experiences, and it should prepare you for life after college. And those are the three things that I commit to in the Skidmore education. It all comes down to Skidmore students. That's the heart of our mission. That's what I wake up thinking about every day, giving them opportunities, giving them preparation, training them to be leaders, engaged citizens, embracing their civic duty, dedicated to community, able to adapt to a world that is changing so rapidly, and prepared to lead what I call lives of consequence. Lives of consequence. And this is independent of what you do. You could be a teacher, a lawyer, an artist, a banker, a sculptor, a dancer. That's not what matters. What matters is the impact you have on the world and going out to change this world for the better. That's at the heart of our mission, and that is what you can expect if you come to Skidmore. So I'm eager to hear your questions and to address anything I can for you. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back to Jess, and let's get the questions rolling.
Thank you, President Connor. I mean, if anyone can't see how passionate you are about our community and how much you've learned, right? And just five years with us. So it's always a pleasure. I learn new insights every time I hear you speak. So I think we have so many great questions that are coming in, but there's a great one that I want to start with. And looking back at your time at Skidmore thus far, what are you most proud of?
Oh goodness. I'm going to say three things. I'll say them fast. How we got through COVID, taking care of each other, listening to science, communicating clearly, being bold, and making sure that we could bring everyone back and have this great Skidmore experience. Our first commencement in the wake of COVID in the SPAC auditorium, our community coming together in such celebration, recognizing what our students and community had gotten through. And then I'm going to say that National Symposium on Speech and Expression on College Campuses, that made a statement about what Skidmore values and why. And that has really sustained us during these challenging times.
Yeah, and interesting that, you know, all three of those, you're celebrating some of those more difficult moments, right, that we have emerged from. So pausing to celebrate, very, very important. So you mentioned you've been teaching. So bring us into the classroom with you. What is the classroom and learning experience like at Skidmore when you have Professor Connor? Connections with faculty, general vibes. And I also heard you're a pretty tough grader, but tell us about it.
I always think the best teachers are the most demanding. Absolutely. Students will rise or fall to the level of expectations we set. I'm a fun teacher. I teach literature, which I love. I teach great literature. My first class I taught here was the comedies and tragedies of William Shakespeare. One of the things I love about teaching Shakespeare is most students enter it thinking this is so difficult, this, you know, the language, the history, 400 years ago, the philosophy, and Shakespeare teaches you how to read Shakespeare. With each play, students get better and better, more facile, more tenacious with these plays, and end up understanding some of the greatest literature that's ever been taught, and it's the most human. Students will see, oh my God, I'm like Hamlet. I'm like King Lear. I'm like Ophelia. I'm like Juliet. Wow, Juliet was a badass. She's got a lot to teach the 21st century. They see how contemporary, as Ben Jonson said, he was not for an age, but for all time. And then, of course, when I've taught my Irish literature course, I've been to Ireland now about 27, 28 times, taken students, taken alumni, taken adults. There's nothing like being in the country where you've studied the literature and the history and seeing and touching the rocks and the castles and the cliffs and the islands. In my classroom, we're doing something different every 15 minutes. We're at a seminar, we're doing a lecture, we're breaking up into groups, we're doing performance. It's very active, and I think it's a lot of fun, and we learn a lot.
Yeah. And similarly, I've heard from other students who have walked into a class and have been a little intimidated either by the subject matter or, by a teacher, right, who they've heard a faculty member, they've heard all these fabulous things about, that it's the curiosity of the students around them and the passion of the faculty member for, the subject and for being with these students that kind of makes those nerves melt away. So you're
Yeah.
100% right. I'm trying to get myself in that Irish Lit class at some point. So when you interact with alumni, what do they say about their Skidmore experience? You meet quite a few alums, right, in your day-to-day. How do they describe Skidmore?
So that's a great question. You know what's become one of my favorite annual events is late May, early June. We do alumni reunions, and these alums come back from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, aughts, and then a year ago, alums whom I graduated in my 4 short years here already, and the affection they have for the place. They talk invariably about faculty who transformed their lives, classes that were seminal to them, but other things as well. One of the things I always say to our freshman class is, don't let your classes get in the way of your education. And I say, now I'm a faculty member. I mean, nothing's more important than your classes, but often what you will remember is going to be that late night conversation in the dorm with your friend, or that walk in the woods, or that project you did together. And our alumni, they talk about both. And then their love for the campus, a campus that is young. Our campus is only 50 plus years old, because our first half century, our campus was in downtown Saratoga Springs. And hearing those alums from before 1970 who remember the old campus, and you can still find some of those buildings downtown. I love getting that sense of history. But again, the affection for the place and for the people is the most palpable thing that people express.
Absolutely. And we're so lucky to have Saratoga Springs,
Mm.
right outside our door. I mean, the campus being enclosed within itself creates one kind of community. And then we have this, connection to the greater, I mean, I call it the perfect little college city, right? Is what Saratoga Springs is, but
Yeah,
certainly that's part of the relationship as well.
totally.
So speaking of Saratoga, so say there's a busy weekend of Skidmore events coming up. What's on your calendar?
A typical weekend for me and Barb, we get to as many of the athletic events as we can. Barb was a college athlete. She played softball. We support the teams, as I've said. We never miss, or try to never miss, the theater performance, the dance performances. And then I tend to do a lot of kind of hanging out on campus. One thing I learned raising children, if you want to have those moments of kind of magic, you got to be around, you got to be present. So every morning I walk the campus with my 14-year-old chocolate lab Molly, the unofficial Skidmore mascot, talk with staff, talk with students. In the afternoons, I try to get onto campus more. I like to get out. I like to talk to the people. I go to faculty events, lectures. I always get invited to poster presentations at the end of the semester and so forth. And then trying to bring people to Scribner House, the President's House, where our founder, Lucy Skidmore Scribner, was living when she had the idea of what became Skidmore College. We have faculty over, students, we have speakers. When I teach my class, the last class is always held in front of the fire in the Scribner House living room. So really trying to be as present on campus as we possibly can.
And, Molly may help a little bit, right? Because she's such a friendly dog, but it really is true that anywhere you go, people approach you, right? They know that you care, that you want to hear what they have to say, and that you want them to, stop and say hello,
Totally.
which is not
Yes.
how every president engages. I've worked at a few different institutions. So, we also have some parents and some supporters and cheerleaders, right? Who are supporting a sibling or a friend through this process of going to college. So, You've talked about, how you and Barb have supported your 3 sons, and you've seen students do this so many years. What advice do you have for a college parent today, especially as they support a student's transition to independence?
Oh boy, it is such an exciting and it's tough. It's tough for the parents. Barb and I have been there. We've done the drop off. We've all 3 of our boys, very different college experiences. What I say to our parents when they are dropping off their students, and I address them, say, here's what your students can expect, and I go through all these wonderful things. I say that's their job, and I say our job as parents is to let them go. To let them have the experiences, to let them thrive. It means we need to watch when they stumble. They need to have the experience of failure. That actually, we learn more from our failures than from our successes. We learn more from our struggles than from our triumphs. Again, this is something that athletes, artists, entrepreneurs all understand. You need the failures to get to the successes, and we have to let them do it. And that kind of runs counter to a lot of the culture of parenting today. Again, Barb and I have certainly been through this, but I see it over and over again with our own boys, and certainly with our Skidmore students. They can do it. They can get their way through it. And then I say the support structures at Skidmore are profound. Whether it's faculty advising, whether it's student services, whether it's counseling, coaches, whether it's just friendly people there to help, because you never know who's going to be that transformative teacher for a student. Of course, it'll be a faculty member, but the life-changing person, it might be that wonderful person in the dining hall who just asks how you're doing on a tough day. Might be that campus safety officer who maybe gives you a stern talking to, or maybe not, depending on the situation. I mean, and I say everybody at Skidmore is an educator. It could be that VP of admissions who gives you such good advice. So trust your student and trust the college is the advice I would give. And enjoy it, because it doesn't sound so old, but it goes by so fast. And suddenly you're at commencement and you swear you were just dropping them off for their freshman orientation a few months before.
Yeah, and you are so right. There's something about, the creativity and the creative vibe at Skidmore where, creativity invites in different ways of thinking and perspectives and taking risks and failure, right? Like things you were talking about, that I think makes it a place where there is so much more growth opportunity because you can lean out a little bit over your skis, just a little bit,
Yes.
right? And that's where some of those growth and stretch moments happen. So you targeted that just a little bit more towards the parents. Let's flip it. And, do you have anything particular that you would give in terms of advice to the college students or the future college students who are in the Zoom today?
Oh, absolutely. And this applies if obviously I want all of you to come to Skidmore, but wherever you go, whatever institution, and there's so many wonderful ones out there and so different. Be not afraid. Be bold to take those chances. I guarantee you, when you show up for the start of your first year, everyone else around you is also feeling, oh gosh, I'm an imposter. Can I do this? Oh, I don't know how this is going to go. Boy, that's how I felt when I came here as a president. I mean, these things are tough. They're challenging. That's why we get nervous and excited. But those are good feelings to have. That's the challenge. That's the growth. I urge you to think about this idea of failure. We think of failure as catastrophic. It's not. It's the pathway to greater success. If we're afraid of failure, we are aborting our opportunities for triumph. So lean into that, and when you stumble, try to laugh about it and say, oh, boy, that didn't go quite the way I hoped. Let me try that again. Or let me get the skills I need in order to do that, and seek out the supports that are here. I always tell our students when I meet them, have you gone to your faculty during office hours yet? Oh, no, I haven't done that yet. Go now, go today, get to know them. That's why they teach at a place like Skidmore. They want to get to know you. If you have a challenge, if you have a problem, voice it, speak it, let us know. I promise you, there's 100 other people with the same challenge on any college campus, and there's lots of ways to help you get through that challenge. So that's the heart of it. Not to be afraid of mistakes or of falling short, because you're going to be all the stronger on the other side of it.
Yeah, so embrace it all. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. I think one of my favorite support opportunities, right? You think about the Writing Center or peer tutoring or any number of other possibilities, but sometimes all you need is an accountability buddy. And
Sure.
so there actually is a peer accountability group where you can go in one night and say, look, I really need to read this much of, this book or an assignment, and you've got someone to check in with. So something as simple as that. And I think
Mhm.
that shows up in the way that there's so many different opportunities at Skidmore for that kind of support that it doesn't take much. It's not much of an ask to get it. So
Love that. Great example.
yeah.
Yes.
So our audience is zooming in from around the world, and they have so many different perspectives. The questions coming in, our colleagues are typing as fast as they can respond. But part of the beauty of what makes our community so special, is that range of experiences. So in your experience as president of Skidmore, how do we ensure that students from all backgrounds feel seen and supported? And do you feel students find their place and feel welcomed? I mean, this is one of the most common questions we get in
Sure.
admissions.
Hmm.
So
And
what's your perspective on that?
yeah, and it's a version of a number of the priorities and initiatives I've mentioned. That's a version of health and wellness. That's a version of racial justice. That's a version of community and belonging. That's a version of diversity support. But what I think one really needs to look for is, what is the feel on the campus, and what evidence does one find that all perspectives are going to be welcome. So at Skidmore, for example, we have over 100 student clubs, and they change every year. This is like my second year. I thought, well, wait, what happened to this in that club? And I was told, oh, that they changed it. They did something else. They turned it into this, or they turned it into that. Constantly dynamic, fueling student ideas, student inspirations, but also responding to the needs that students express. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want this cohort. I want this kind of group, this kind of identity. And again, as I said earlier on, you are discovering and you are forging your identity as you go. So your needs are going to change. The community you seek is going to be transformed. And in fact, you're the agent who transforms it. That's part of the action you have on a college campus. So I would really look for evidence that a place supports that. So you look at Skidmore, we've got our student center with all of our international flags hung from the ceiling of all the different nationalities represented in our student body. We've got our Wyckoff Center, which is the place at the heart of the student center where we go to have the tough conversations, to have the debates, to have the scholars, to have the presentations, the forums. That's where we do events of welcome. It's also where we do events of challenge, because they're two sides of the same coin. We've got Falstaffs. That's our student pub, inn, concert hall, recreation space. We've got Wilson Chapel, multi-denominational, all are welcome. We made great use of that during the Middle East crisis, going there to hold hands together in spiritual affinity, while recognizing that we had very strong political differences. We've got the dining hall with award-winning culinary options, but vitally recognizing all the different culinary needs, dietary needs that students bring to a college campus today. That's part of welcome. That's part of inclusivity. And boy, that's part of safety as well. I could go on, but those are the things I think one wants to look for in a college campus. A college campus can't fake that. You will tell, is this a welcoming place where difference is encouraged, or is the vibe different? And we are certainly the former.
I love that in about a minute you gave 68 different ways, right? That students could start to explore themselves in relation to other people, and figure out, is this a place where I will find my people, right? And then made sure that they understood that they have agency in this process, right? I mean, I hope everyone was listening very carefully to that answer, because it is true. A community cannot fake that, right? It's pretty easy to suss out a place that's just, talking the talk and not walking the walk. So
Totally agree. Totally agree,
Yeah.
Jess.
So,
Yes.
if you're going to rewind and watch one part of this Zoom webinar, that might be one of the ones to listen to, because you gave so many great examples. So can you elaborate on campus safety? We get a lot of questions. Is this a safe campus? Is Saratoga Springs a safe community? And what's that relationship like?
Oh, great. Yeah, series of questions. So yeah, I think a lot about a safe campus. We hear that so often. And of course, last year with all the tempest on college campuses, safety was such a key element. Last year, the 23-24 academic year on the Skidmore campus, we had one act of violence, one in the whole year. And it was an altercation between two freshmen who were drunk. Okay, that sort of thing happens. That means by statistical measures, we were an extraordinarily safe community, safe from physical harm, safe from threat. And that's where you start. And that's really what a safe campus has to mean. Now, I heard a lot about safety last year where people meant something else. They say, I don't feel safe. Oh, what do you mean? Well, they're saying things that I don't like. They're saying things that offend me. They're saying things that I think could be dangerous. So, okay, let's look at that. So you don't mean physical safety. You mean you're hearing things with which you disagree. You're hearing things that are difficult for you. But unless what you are hearing is a targeted statement of violence, it is not hate speech. And one of the things I've frequently said is the speech that we hate is not therefore hate speech as a very specific category. So I do you no favors, a Skidmore student, if I make you think I can protect you from hearing things you don't like. I do you a tremendous favor if I help cultivate a community where you are confident challenging views you don't like, learning from the views that you don't like. And paradoxically, that actually builds a safer community in terms of physical safety. Saratoga Springs is an exceptionally safe community. It is also a community where the college brings a lot of the diversity to that community. We saw a lot of that on display in the Martin Luther King weekend celebrations this past weekend. Our Black community came together. All the allies of that community came together. A Skidmore professor gave the keynote address at the United Methodist Church for the key King celebration. Students were involved. That kind of community engagement is vital. And it enhances both Saratoga Springs and Skidmore College. Skidmore College is vital to the Saratoga Springs community, and that community is vital to us. You mentioned what a great college town this is. Man, there's 60 restaurants in this town. It is an incredible, thriving. We've got 2 real bookstores in this. This is a great place to be. Those relations between the college and the town are very important to me. Barb sits on 3 different civic boards. I'm engaged in the civic community. We've got a Skidmore VP who sits on the Chamber of Commerce. Those connections are key because they lead to better opportunities for our students. The more this community can embrace the college, the better it's going to be for Skidmore students.
Absolutely. Between, internships, eating your way through Saratoga Springs. I've been living here a year and a half and I haven't made a dent in the restaurant scene. So many things to do. And so you sort of have the best of both worlds, right? A campus where you don't have to have a car, right? You can walk from one end of campus to the other, run into President Connor and Chocolate Lab Molly, and really sort of enjoy a community where you don't have to go far to just be with the rest of the Skidmore community, and yet walk a mile down Broadway and be right in the middle of Saratoga Springs, which is 30,000, navigable, and offers us so much, right? In a sort of a symbiotic relationship. So switching gears just a little bit, there have been some questions. You've kicked off some really amazing initiatives, and folks seem to be remarking on that in the Q&A. But what's something you are looking forward to or excited about that's coming at Skidmore? What do you foresee in the next few years, right? If they join our community and are here, 4 years from now, what are you looking forward to that they might be a part of?
Well, I mean, as you know, Jess, that's all the buzz on campus this year we're in the midst of writing our new strategic plan that's going to guide the college for the next 5 years and all the way into the 2030s. And it's an exciting time to be thinking aspirationally about a great college. There's a lot of headwinds in higher education. There's a lot of challenges, but it gives us a chance to really plant our flag and say, these are the things that we most value. So I'll pick one of those things. It's the residential student experience. One of the amazing things about the liberal arts college model is that on our campus, students live, work, play, thrive, study, compete. All those things happen in residence. And that's one of the remarkable things. It's the ways in which community gets built. At Skidmore, we've got a number of things that we want to continue to enhance. One of the key ones is our residence halls, because a residence hall is much more than a place to sleep. It is a community building location. And we want to expand some of those social spaces for students. One of the things we heard in the whole campus master planning process, which is a nearly 2-year process that we did, is we want more spaces where we can interact with each other. And it's one of the things we put into the Center for Integrated Sciences. You walk down that central corridor, there's all these interactive spaces, cool furniture, nice colors and lights and everything. And students can be in 2s, they can be in 6s, they can be in 12s, they can move the furniture around, they can come and go, they can see and be seen. They're study spaces, they're performative spaces, they're social spaces. If we really are committed to the education inside the classroom and outside of the classroom, then those kinds of spaces really have to be cultivated. So that's going to be a major undertaking over the next 5 to 10 years. And we're really going to see that transformation on our campus.
Yeah, I mean, how many other, institutions can say that there are as many arts, humanities, and social science students in the science building, right? In the STEM space as STEM students, right? And I think that really, when you talk about, buildings at Skidmore and spaces and the way people, come together in community, I think you notice that distinction pretty quickly, right? When you were describing the way that students are taking over the Billy, right? And just kind of having just a relaxing time. Sometimes you can see that very studious moment, but it's a really great space to walk through and get a sense of our community. So,
and if I may, Jess, the other thing I would emphasize that I'm so looking forward to is seeing the next steps our faculty take with our remarkable curriculum. Whether it's interdisciplinary learning, whether it's integrative sciences, whether it's taking management and business, economics, the humanities, putting them together, our interdisciplinary programs like Asian Studies, which just received a major endowment, all the different things with the formal education. I mean, that's where it all happens. So that's going to be really exciting to see.
So someone watched a video on Skidmore's YouTube from your inauguration. And I have to confess, I think I saw this same video when I was a candidate for the VP role at Skidmore, and loved it. So tell us, are you still a big fan of Queen? And what's your go-to pump-up song these days? Inquiring minds want to know.
So yeah, I think Queen is amazing, and I will stand by that. Some of the most creative, virtuosic music that I've ever heard. I've got very eclectic, wide-ranging musical taste. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. One of my go-tos right now is the Ray Charles version of "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," which, if you haven't listened to it recently, take a listen. I mean, just so soulful and evocative. And then we just got through the holiday season, the Sinatra version of "I'll Be Home for Christmas," which is both joyful and poignant. It's just a magnificent musical experience. So, that's kind of old school Ray Charles and Frank Sinatra. I've got a lot of other contemporary Irish traditional. I love the Corrs. I love Danu, lots of groups like that, but I'll stay with those ones for now.
My favorite happens to be from my first year here, Skidmania, where students perform songs from 50 years ago. And one of our first year's A's donned a leather jacket and sunglasses and torn up jeans and his guitar. And it was just Ace and the guitar. And he sang Dream On by Aerosmith. And for those of you who are parents in the room and you're thinking, that was just yesterday, that really was 50 years ago. But he hit all the high notes. He's not a music major.
Yep.
And it is available on our Vimeo if you want to jump online and watch it. But what a great song.
It was amazing. He walked down the middle of Zenkel, a cappella, and then the guitar. It was incredible performance. Yeah.
So sticking with the getting to know President Connor just a little bit theme, what's your favorite meal to eat on campus? And folks want to know, is the food actually good?
So we just had a chef culinary competition 2 weeks ago on our campus. We took the silver medal. I think the first time in 7 years that we haven't taken the gold medal, but that's partly because the competition is coming to Skidmore to be part of this. It's all, you know, campus chef, campus food services to be part of this premier competition. Our food is recognized as possibly the best on any college campus. And Princeton Review, which gets a lot of things wrong, they get that right. Our food is remarkable. I would be remiss if I didn't say Chicken Finger Friday is my favorite meal, because I go there every Friday. They're really good chicken fingers, first of all, and the fries are even better. But it's the social part of it, like sitting down with a tray of hot chicken and fries with students or with faculty or colleagues, and you know, eating with your fingers, and everybody's there having this kind of down home celebratory food. I know
Yeah.
that our chefs would say, "Oh, come on, Mark, we do so many fancier things," and of course we do. Oh, I'll also mention Waffle Fest. Last day of classes in the fall term, 8 to 10 p.m. in the dining hall, big waffle feast for everybody. That was pretty cool. So great food, but even more, it's the sense of coming together in the dining hall that I love.
100% vegan, kosher,
Yeah.
halal, only eat Lucky Charms, Italian, right? I mean, anything and everything. So,
Good.
okay, penultimate question. You've covered so many things about Skidmore. If you had to narrow it down, what are 2 to 3 things you think students can only get here? What makes Skidmore distinct?
The emphasis on creativity, this is not just a word at Skidmore. This is an ethos. And this goes back really to our founding. So creativity, first of all. The second is, as for a liberal arts education that is more than the traditional arts and sciences. When Lucy was defining her goal for Skidmore in its very founding, she said, we will educate the mind and the hand. The mind and the hand. And that continues. It's stronger today than ever. So our students are getting all the great benefits of liberal arts education, and they know how to do things as well. That I think is extraordinarily important. And then I'll go back to this idea of kindness. We cultivate kindness, and kindness is not weakness. Kindness is not softness. As C.S. Lewis pointed out, when you meet a truly humble person, you're going to be surprised how confident they are and how confident they make you feel. That's what kindness really does. And man, I look at the world today, kindness, creativity, honesty, these are the things that the world most needs. And those are the things that we cultivate at Skidmore.
Absolutely. So that leads into the last formal question. And you talked a little bit about creativity, but what does creative thought matters mean to you? I mean, anyone who's spent any time on our website or has received an email from admissions, right? Creative thought matters. It really describes us, but what does it mean to you, President Connor?
It liberates the mind. It liberates the mind. It frees you to think in ways you didn't know you could. And one thing I want to emphasize here, we don't just mean artistic creativity. Of course we mean that. And in fact, when it comes to the arts, I think Skidmore is preeminent among the great liberal arts colleges. But you talk to our neuroscience majors, you talk to our economists, you talk to our biologists, you talk to our social scientists, our education faculty, they're talking about creativity in their fields as well. Great scientists know this. Creativity is more important in the sciences than any other field, any other discipline. And when we think about the demands of democratic citizenship, we've got to be creative and nimble in the world's crises, in order not to get bogged down in the same old stale non-solutions. So those are some of the things that creative thought matters really evokes for me. Again, I could talk at great length, I think I have, about creativity, but it really is the heart and soul of what we do here. And it is so much more than any single thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're all so grateful. Let me say on behalf of everyone who's here tonight that we really appreciate that you've spent time sharing insights about Skidmore, so that these students and their supporters can help make some really great choices about their future. And as you said earlier, we hope all of them would come to Skidmore. But we really appreciate you taking time. We know you're a very busy president who, as we heard, is at all the events. But I want you to know, if your question wasn't answered tonight, the team was answering away in the Q&A as much as they could. But for the answers that you have that you think of at 2 in the morning, or you have tomorrow, or that didn't get answered tonight, please be in touch with us. We want to connect you to the information so you can make an informed decision. But I'm positive that everybody is walking away understanding what creative thought matters means at Skidmore, and what the leadership that you have brought to Skidmore, President Connor, means to us. So we'll thank everyone for spending time with us this evening, and we will send you on your way for the rest of the night. But thank you all so much.
Thank you. Best of luck. Thank you, everyone.